Hello again. Today I want to talk about For the Emperor. This is a Warhammer 40k novel by Sandy Mitchell. Sandy Mitchell is the pen name of Alex Stewart. Anyway, if you've watched some of the videos on the channel before, you'll know that I do like Sandy Mitchell. I like his writing style. I've read other books by him, and I very much enjoy the way that he builds the characters, the world, etc. I was first introduced to Sandy Mitchell through the Ciaphas Cain novels, or the other way around, however you want to say that. The first time I read anything by Sandy Mitchell was the Ciaphas Cain novels, but I did end up tracking down some Warhammer fantasy books that he had written that I very much enjoyed as well. If you're unfamiliar with the Warhammer universe in general, that can make this a bit hard to get into. The Warhammer universe is the Warhammer 40k universe is set in the 41st millennium, so thousands and tens of thousands of years beyond where we are now. And basically the entire universe is inimical to mankind, and basically just about everything else in every other sentient species. In fact, the universe is not a nice place. If you think about a fantasy setting that has elves, dwarves, orcs, that kind of thing, this is the same thing, but it's set in space in the 41st millennium. Ciaphas Cain is a member of the basically he's a member of the army. It's the Imperial Guard, and he is a commissar. He doesn't actually have his role is more as a political officer. We don't really have that I know of. We don't really have an equivalent rank in the United States Army, but one, I'm not really familiar with how the armed forces are all structured. But I know that that Ciaphas Cain is both inside and outside of the command structure in the unit that he's assigned to. Ciaphas, his role is to monitor morale in the unit that he's assigned to. Now, most of the time, it's kind of funny, most of the time commissars do not last long in Imperial Guard units in the 40k universe. They have the power to summarily execute anyone and everyone who they deem necessary. You scuffed my boot, you're dead. You are a traitor, you're dead. Obviously, the traitor thing is one thing, but he has the power to execute anyone, from the lowliest enlisted man all the way up to a general if he needs to, if he deems it necessary. Now, there may be repercussions and things later, but in terms of the here and now, a death sentence is definitely something in the cards for him. And so Imperial Guard units tend to look with ill favor upon the commissars, and so commissars tend not to last very long. There are some notable exceptions, and Ciaphas Cain is one of those. Now, the Ciaphas Cain novels are written from the viewpoint of an Imperial. Well, they're actually written from Cain's viewpoint, but they are edited by an Imperial Inquisitor that he meets actually in this first book. Cain knows secrets and things, and because of his temperament and his outlook on life, his memoirs are considered top secret. And because of that, the Inquisitor in question, Amberly Vale, she edits together his memoirs and has tongue-in-cheek asides that she intersperses throughout the narrative. Anyway, back to this particular novel. As I said, Ciaphas Cain is an Imperial commissar with the Imperial Guard, and he gets assigned to the Valhallan 296th and 301st units. Now, it's kind of weird. He should be assigned to one unit. What happened was there was a battle, and the 296th and the 301st regiments were completely shattered. There was not enough of them basically to put two units back together, so they merged them into one unit. The Valhallans are humans from an ice world, and so they very much love the cold. And they clash immediately, the two groups, because actually one is an all-female guard unit and the other is an all-male guard unit, and now they're being forced to merge into one unit. And so they actually have they come to blows at one point, and the only thing that keeps the captain of the ship they're on from just executing the lot of them is Cain says, "Let me take care of it." And so it devolves to him, and he's like, they will be punished, etc. He then takes the two guard units, and he says, "You are no longer the 296th and the 301st. You are now the 597th." So he took the two numbers and added them together and came up with the 597th. So he merges the units, he forces them to break into smaller groups, and he distributes the people into the different groups so that there's now men and women interspersed with each other, and forces them to train together to get along. And he doesn't just outright execute people. That's one of the things about Cain that is unique in his position. He looks at his subordinates, and he looks at the people that he works with, and he says, "How can I get these people to protect me?" It's kind of funny when Cain introduces himself right at the start. He basically says that he's a coward and that he would be more than happy to have a desk job for the rest of his life where it's safe, but they keep shipping him to places that it's deadly and dangerous to go. It's a bright spark in the otherwise very, very dark Warhammer 40k universe. This novel, they end up at a planet called Gravelax. And the reason they're there is because there's an alien race that's trying to annex the planet, and the Imperial Guard doesn't want that to happen. So they go to stop this process from happening. The aliens in question are the Tau. If it was, say, the Tyranids or the Orcs or something like that, there would be no negotiating. It's we have to kill you all. And there's also the Chaos Forces, if you're familiar with Warhammer. There's an elves equivalent. They're called the Eldar. But anyway, they find out that there's a conspiracy on the planet, and they're not sure what's going on because they find that the planet is kind of split between two factions. And you can't tell who's on which side because both of the factions seem to be fighting for the Empire and the aliens, the Tau. And it comes down to the fact that there's actually a third presence on the planet, a third alien presence on the planet that's getting in the way of everything. I don't want to go too much into detail here, but as I said, this is where Cain also meets the Inquisitor Amberly Vale, and gets involved with her trying to figure out what's going on this planet, who's on whose side, and how they can stop the Tau from taking over the planet, and how they can stop this conspiracy from taking over both positions. But through it all, Cain says that he's a coward and that he is not good at anything. But you find out that he's actually a supremely capable commander and cool under pressure. And not just that, he is an excellent soldier as well. A lot of times I've heard Cain compared to Flashman. Flashman was a series of novels. I'm trying to remember who they were written by. Let's see. They were written by George MacDonald Fraser. They're kind of imperialistic English setting where England was going around and they'd conquered a lot of the known world and they were spreading their empire. Flashman is the main character in those sets of novels, and I've heard Ciaphas Cain compared to Flashman. I want to kind of set the record straight. Yes, there is a similarity between the two, but there are huge differences as well. I've read two of the Flashman novels, and they were not as good as Ciaphas Cain, any of the Ciaphas Cain novels. And the characterization of them both is so different. Cain is actually, he plays down his bravery, he plays down how good of a soldier he is, he plays down how good of a commander he is, and he says that he's just looking out for number one. But at the same time, his actions somewhat belie his statements. He actually is a very capable fighter. He actually is a very capable commander. He actually seems to genuinely care about the others around him, even though he says he doesn't. And then you compare him to actual Flashman. Flashman is a terrible human being. There is no redeeming qualities about him whatsoever. He is not brave and hiding it. He is not a capable soldier, from what I could tell. He's a hateful human being. He uses others to his advantage. I mean, Cain does the same thing, but it doesn't seem to be that he's using them maliciously, where Flashman seems to definitely be using people maliciously. And Cain hides behind this persona that he's built. And it actually protects him. It does him in good stead, because everybody sees him as a hero of the Imperium, and they support him and they sustain him. Flashman, on the other hand, he has that same reputation, but there's no real backing behind it. So when people say that that Cain is like Flashman, yeah, kind of. They both became heroes because of misunderstandings, but Cain actually did the things to become that hero, whereas Flashman didn't. It's just like something wonderful happened in Flashman's life, and the person who actually accomplished the deed died, and they gave the credit to Flashman, whereas Cain, something wonderful happens, it was because Cain was there to either orchestrate it or to see it through to its conclusion, or it was his idea to begin with. So there is a comparison, but I would say that it's not a favorable comparison if you put those two together, because Flashman loses out. Ciaphas Cain, read those instead. They're much better, much more entertaining. And Ciaphas Cain is actually a sympathetic character that makes you want to keep reading. They're very good novels, and I highly recommend the Ciaphas Cain series. I know I've talked about Warhammer and stuff several times on my channel here. I'm not a huge Warhammer person. I read the books. I've played some of the video games. I don't do the miniatures. I've actually played the RPG setting, but I mostly am there for the books that I've read from the Warhammer series. So that being said, highly recommend all the books in the Ciaphas Cain series. There are 10 of them. For the Emperor is the first one, and It's highly entertaining, and it just really is a good leaping off point in getting you into the rest of the series further on. So like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you thought of Ciaphas Cain, and till next time.